very good evening and loving Sairams to everyone here. Um, I firstly place myself at the lotus feet of my most beloved Bhagwan and offer this talk to him. It is, but it's very evident to me that this talk is more for my own development and to share it so that I myself recollect the time that I have spent and the lessons that I have learned with Swami. So, as you can see, the topic of the talk is sadhana. I would like to start with a short experience that one of my colleagues, one of my, you can say, my friends in Puttaparthi had with Swami. In an interview with Swami, Swami was delving very deeply into and extolling the devotion of Meera Bai for Lord Krishna for him. So and he was quite emotional about Meera Bai at that point in time when the students asked Swami that why Swami, how can we develop such devotion for Meera Bai? And Swami's looked at him and then Swami said, the only way is sadhana. And then this student said, he innocently, although as he later said that it not really from from the heart, but he asked Swami that Swami, how can we do sadhana? And to that, Swami's response was, you just take a plate in your hand, you put some halwa in it, and you lick it. So basically, Swami so-called, sarcastically spoke to him, and it seems in his own language because he was didn't ask the question very seriously. But the question that comes up is that what is sadhana really? So Swami gives two answers to this question. There are two meanings basically. The first one that Swami says is that it's derived from the word sadhan, which means a means to achieve something, or you can say that it's a means to reach a goal. The second meaning that Swami says is sa plus dhan, which means divine wealth. Now, what is this divine wealth? Is in other words, you can say it's God's grace. So, if we put these two meanings together, what we get is that sadhana really means a means to achieve God's grace, a means to come closer to God. So, this now sadhana, I mean, one basic tenet that Swami has said in the past is for students, he said the best sadhana is good thoughts, good qualities, and exemplary character. This is what he has said in public, but specifically, of course, he has said that sadhana is something that is customized, that is individual. So now there are different, sadhanas uh, that suit different people. One of my uncle's long-time devotee of Swami, he was told by Swami to sit throughout the period, even when Swami's darshan gets over, till the time that the bhajans get over. Otherwise, what people would do is they would go and, let's say, have food in the South Indian canteen. This was during the 80s and 90s. So, in fact, during one such instance, what happened was that he was this. So, I mean, it seems that as if it's it's not a very big thing. A lot of us students have also used to sit there for a long time. But for a devotee in those times, he would wake up early morning and he would have to go sit in the queues for at around 4:30, and then sit in darshan. Swami would come at 6:45, 7, and darshan go until 7:30. Then Swami would be inside for interviews till the end, and 9 o'clock bhajan would start. After that, Swami would come out. In between, he might just pop out for a minute for a brief while on rare occasions. So anyway, so once while he was sitting in the Kulwant Hall, I'm not sure if Kulwant Hall was built at that time actually. So while he was sitting post darshan, Swami he was called by an ashram authority to just assist for a little while an elderly gentleman who was distributing ice cream in the Milky Way. There was a shop called Milky Way just opposite the Kulwant Hall, in fact, on the backside. So he just went there to give some assistance because he couldn't say no, and it was just darshans had just finished, so Swami would not come out immediately. And just a few minutes had passed when someone came, running up to him and asked him, "What are you doing here? Swami is calling you. He's been searching for you, and you are here distributing ice creams." So anyway, he came back to the Kulwant hall, and then Swami immediately called him and reprimanded him quite badly, and told him he didn't give him an opportunity to speak. Actually, he was just scolding him and told him. And when he said, Swami asked him, "What were you doing?" He told Swami, "I was helping this uncle in the ice cream booth." And Swami said, you were eating ice cream. Oh, you were supposed to sit here and you were there eating ice cream." And so Swami was quite seemingly upset over there. So from this incident, what I understood was that if a particular sadhana has been given, there might be one has to sort of try to attempt to at least follow it quite strictly, even if it's at the expense of other kinds of seva or other kinds of uh, sadhana, if so to say. To my own father, Swami had very specifically mentioned that you do bhajans. And once Swami himself had asked him that are you doing bhajans regularly? And he said, "Swami, time nahi milta hai, I'm not getting sufficient time." And Swami's response was that he just gave a very, a smirk, and he was again quite upset. So for different people, different things are given. Last week we heard Bhagya sir, and he was told by Swami to first chant his name continuously, and then subsequently Swami had changed that um, uh, to self-inquiry. So to cut the long story short, sadhana is something that actually varies from person to person. And but what is a prerequisite for sadhana? One of the prerequisites for sadhana is an attachment to God, or if not an attachment, a desire to actually come closer to God. In fact, in one letter that Swami had written to a devotee who could not make it to Puttaparthi because of his ailing mother, and although he really wanted to attend, his his uh, his mother he had written a letter to Swami expressing his anguish, and Swami had responded to him in a letter saying that it is the anguish of separation from the one whom you adore and love, that is the real sadhana. So, and then Swami had said that you must yearn more and more ardently for me. Now, this also reminds me of another incident during my college days in 2005, when one of my batchmates, some of you might have heard of Vinod Karthik. He had just entered his MBA. He was an IIT gold medalist and could have actually uh, joined any big university within India or even abroad. But he had chosen to spend the rest of his time with in the physical proximity of Swami. So when he joined for his MBA in June, Swami was in Vrindavan at that point in time, Whitefield, and he was actually pining for Swami's darshan. And in the first few days of our stay in Parthi, he was given the opportunity to give a talk in the foyer session, where the entire college students would be present. So in that talk, he expressed this yearning for Swami's darshan, and he was very vocal and very emphatically he said that if we pray to Swami, Swami has to come, and he doesn't have a choice. Like that, I'm sure he inspired a lot of us, and to our to our delight, the same evening or it was the next morning that Swami actually came to Puttaparthi with, and we hadn't heard of any plans as of then of Swami coming to Puttaparthi. Otherwise, we would generally know that okay, maybe within the next few days, Swamis would be about to arrive. So this was a very pleasant surprise and a very you can say something that we all it was a very good lesson for all of us that sincere yearning is something that God immediately responds to. Now, the question that comes is that how can we develop this desire to be close to God, or to actually do something that brings us closer to God. So, in an interview to Ravi Teja sir, you might have heard of him also. He's also a teacher he's also an ex-student who works in Puttaparthi right now. So he, in an interview to him, Swami had told him and a few other students that one of the best sadhana is to imagine God as imagine Swami as your closest friend, and imagine that he's standing right next to you always. And so, what would you do if your closest friend is next to you? You would share whatever you have in your mind with him. You would tell him that Swami, I have this is the thought that's coming to my mind. I want to Swami, this is what I want to do, or Swami, this person is troubling me, or this is what is happening. What do I do? So like this, you would keep conversing. You would keep. Swami said you should keep mentally conversing with me. What is the benefit of this? The benefit of this is threefold. He said, A, you are constantly remembering Swami. By constantly remembering Swami, you are invoking his divine presence. And because this is the first thing. The second thing is that you are you are by telling him constantly, you are also offering your whatever you're doing, whatever you're thinking, constantly to him. So that becomes an offering. And the third thing is that you, because you are constantly thinking of him, you would not do something that is wrong. So this, and I would like to add that that I sort of used to practice this as a child, and I had a very nice I had very nice experiences because I was a somewhat naughty child. So there was a lot of time when I needed his help, and there were a lot of times, because I realized that he can be a very very good he can be your best friend, because you can share your secrets with him and they will be kept secrets. And in fact, I'll narrate a very nice incident on that as well. And you can also you can ask him for help at any point in time, and which used to be quite regular from my side. And things would sort themselves out. In fact, once what happened was that in an interview in 1995, um, now I was in my fifth standard and I had done some mischief in class. And that same year we had gone to Puttaparthi. So after and in the interview, the only thought that was uppermost in my mind, now as a child, it had been ingrained in me that God knows everything that you're doing, and he can tell us also. So I had that in mind, that Swami knows what I have done, but he should not speak. He should not, in the interview room, he should not give away what I have done. So the only that was the uppermost thought in my mind. And it was whatever time period the interview was, or I was just praying that Swami, please don't tell this to my parents that I did this in school. And so the interview got over. In between, he conversed here and there with me, but I was thankfully nothing on these lines. And as the interview got over, I heaved a sigh of relief. And while exiting, I took Pad Namaskar. And as I took Pad Namaskar, Swami just lifted his hand, and he seemingly to the rest of the people, he did like that to me. And so I was, but for me, what actually happened was that although Swami had not swung his arm, just with the flick of his wrist, he had actually given me a tight slap on the cheek at that point in time. So, I mean, to the extent that I actually just held my cheek like that, and I was walking back, and I asked my father. I told my father, that Swami slapped me. He said, "No, no, he just patted you." So then I realized that, he kept his secrets. He kept whatever. He's a good person to share secrets with, and at the same time, he knows how to teach you a lesson as well. So that was one way in which I was also sort of my faith in Swami was reinstated. Now, uh, another aspect of sadhana that Swami has regularly focused on is silence. He has said a lot of times that silence is the first step to sadhana. In fact, he says that the footsteps of God can be heard in the depths of silence. So, what the question that, and he, in fact, in one discourse, Swami also said that we must keep at least 1 hour of silence every day so that our mind can be rejuvenated. But what is the silence that Swami is actually talking about? So there was this another student whose his name is Ashwin Venkateshwaran. You might have maybe seen videos of him also. When he was in school, he's much elder to me. When he was in school, in higher secondary school, he got an opportunity, and wherein he asked Swami. No, he was a very talkative boy, actually, seemingly talkative. So he asked Swami, what can I do for you? And Swami told him, let's talk. So he decided that, he's not going to talk. And he actually started communicating by writing on slips of paper with his classmates and batchmates. So he was really serious, and he became, in fact, notoriously known as the Monum boy in his batch. So 3 weeks later, Swami calls him for an interview, and Swami speaks to him. And Swami, the first thing that Swami says is, too much talk. Now, he was really shocked actually to hear this from Swami after having put in so much effort. And then Swami said, not here, here. So what Swami really expects, I feel, from us is actually silence in the mind. And of course, speaking, this was one way in which he drove this lesson into a young mind. And of course, I mean, speaking less definitely helps in speaking in calming the mind. But I guess that's the goal that needs to be kept in mind. Now, I come to I would, what are the benefits of sadhana? I'm sure all of us would have various stories to tell about our experiences and benefits that we have had. One short, one profound, or you can say an impactful experience that I had as a child was in my third standard. Now, as a child, it had been ingrained in me by my mother that whenever you're in trouble, you must chant Om Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram. So, and other than that, also, I had been told to, whenever I get the time, I should be chanting. So I used to practice this off and on. And I used to get, of course, I used to get more opportunities being slightly naughty. So I used to get more opportunities to chant Swami's name. So once what happened was that while I was in my third standard, we had gone on a camping trip taken by a school from Delhi to a hill station called Ramgarh. And over there, the two of us, I mean, at Ramgarh, our class was taken to a river for just to have some fun. And two of us was likely the naughtier side. My friend and I, we decided that we'll sort of go a little bit. We'll do something slightly more adventurous, and we'll move slightly downstream the river. So we left the class where they were, and the teachers who were there with them. We started walking in the rivers slightly downstream, and we really enjoyed it initially. because we felt that we were being really brave. But as we progressed, the current started becoming faster. Now but knowing that we should not, we need to exhibit our bravery, we thought, okay, let's just continue a little bit more. We walked a little bit more, and that time the current suddenly became much faster. And this friend of mine who was much stronger than me, he turned around and he started struggling and walking back. Now I was slightly shorter and not as strong as him, so the only way I could maintain my balance amidst such a strong current was by walking along with the current. Okay. And as I started walking along with the current, the current became faster and faster. So I had to start walking faster and faster. And that's when I realized that I'm actually in a big soup here. So I had to gather all my strength, and and prayers started shooting out from me. Om Saram, Om Saram started shooting out like birds from a tree, which when they've heard a gunshot. So I was just constantly saying Om Saram and saying, Swami, please save me. And the water level would have been close to my waist. All of a sudden, my foot touched something quite solid. It was submerged, but it was a little bit solid. And I looked down. It was a slightly big rock piece on this riverbed. So, so what I did was I balanced my right foot on that rock and my left foot on the sandbed, uh, and I stood there. I mean, balancing myself over there, and I just waited. So I could not move from there basically, but I could just stand there and wait. In the meantime, my friend had gone, and he had spoken to our teacher, who then came and who sort of waded through the river, and who caught my hand, took me back, and I was given a very strong dose. But needless to say, the job was done. I was my faith in God was reinstated, and which I was like thankful to Swami, and I knew that next time onwards, I wouldn't have any problem on banking on him. So that was one experience. Then I think I'm running a little short of time. So anyway, I'll go on to the I'll go on to the next experience now. Now this experience happened in Kulwant Hall. This was a post Samadhi experience, in fact, in 2011. So I used to chant the Sai Gayatri a lot at that point in time. I used to attempt in to give couple of hours at least a day in chanting, whether while sitting or whether while during our regular routine, normal while walking or anything. So it was during one such time while I was sitting in Kunwant Hall opposite the chair, actually slightly behind. I was sitting middle, few rows behind. What happened was that while with my eyes closed, I could see Swami coming down. I mean, I was, you can say, visualizing or a vision, whatever you would call it. I could see Swami walking down from the chair. He came down to me and he gave me his hand. And I looked up at him and I stretched out my hand from where I was sitting. I held it and I got up, and then he started taking me with him. And he took me to his chair and he made me sit on his chair. He told me to ask me to sit on his chair. I was very reluctant to do that, but he assured me that no, you sit. So I sat on his chair, and then he brought a mirror and he put that mirror in front of me. And in the mirror, I saw Swami's picture, and I saw Swami stand in the mirror. Okay. And I was at once, I was sort of transformed into another entity. I suddenly realized that I felt as if I am the creator of the cosmos. And I could see everyone in Kulwant Hall. I felt as if they are all extensions of me, as if all of them are my own, my own children. And I felt a surge of pure divine love. And but that was the core feeling actually, and it was an extremely beautiful feeling. I mean, I've never felt, maybe another in some other time in my some other dream I might have felt that, but that was like a one off occasion. So I felt that, and then I felt I was completely drenched. I mean, with this feeling of love and bliss. And I saw Swami standing there. He was smiling at me, and then I felt that I am the one who has created Swami also. And as this thought came in my mind, then another thought peeped from behind, that how can you create Swami? Swami is God. You cannot, Swami is above you. How can you rise above Swami? So as soon as this thought came in my mind, which I later, clarified with Bhagya sir actually, and he said, yeah, this was ego that was coming in. So as soon as I got this thought, all of a sudden, the entire my level of I was brought down basically to ground zero, and I sort of became normal once again. But the feeling of bliss that I had at that point in time did not leave me for a long time. I believe it was like a taste, that भगवान एक बारी थोड़ा taste दे देते हैं कि you should know
Hmm.
what you should be aiming for, and where you should, what your goal should be. So I
Mhm.
believe I took it in that spirit, because after that there was a period of time where I was in that state of bliss. But it's, as I said, it's a very profound experience. And I keep this talk actually was something that gave me an opportunity to recollect that experience, and to to reinforce the message that Swami was trying to convey to me through that experience. So so I believe it's, these are like signposts that are given on on your journey by Swami, that and he sort of dangles a carrot, something that so that we keep. It was post samadhi, so that also was one dimension, another dimension to to see the experience through. So I think, yeah, that's what I would like to say. Thank you. There is one more instance, but it's a long one, so I'll skip that. And I'll just I would say that sadhana is something that needs to be, of course, done on a daily basis, and the fruits would be, the you will see the fruits. I mean, this is what I have experienced, that if it's done on a daily basis, at a fixed time, and at a fixed place, then it yields the best results, or you can say the results that are faster. This is, I'm talking about sadhana in the form of maybe bhajans or meditation or chanting, whatever, those, that kind of alone. So now many of us would have felt, at least I have felt in the past, that sadhana, that we keep doing some sort of jap or meditation or bhajan or seva or something, but we don't see the fruits. So one thing that Swami has said is that the fruit of sadhana takes time to ripen. And because it's he compares it to us attaining a degree, college degree. So for instance, we have to move from primary to secondary to higher secondary to college. Only then we can get the degree. And similarly, he says that in sadhana also you have to progress, from one level to the other. I would like to quote actually um, from a book by Dr. Shailesh Srivastav about this sadhana taking time. Why does it take time? So this is a book called Swami Guruji and I, that's written by him. And yeah, so you can see this is the cover. So what he says is that how much trouble one has to undergo in the process of refinement depends naturally on the level of impurity within and the level of purity desired. Then before I come to the next para that he has that I read want to read from his book. Sadhana is basically, it's a call to God. So, as once what happened was that Peddevotu, who's an ardent devotee, was an ardent devotee of Swami. While she was sleeping in the mandir, she woke up at 12:30 midnight, and she's, out of her habit, she said, Om Shri Sai Ram. And from top, Swami answered and said, Peddevotu, why are you not letting me sleep? And she said, Swami, what am I? I myself woke up just now. How is it that I'm not letting you sleep? And Swami was like, if you keep chanting my name, you are calling me. And so you're not allowing me to sleep. So basically, through sadhana, I feel that we are actually calling God into our life. So what is written here is that once we are in the company of an all-knowing guide, guru or God, the results of the backlog of past karma come faster. This is because the all knowing masters create the right situations for these results. Of course, they are only speeding up the process of our progress. Sadhu sadhya phalate, it is rightly said. This means that we may experience a sudden downpour of difficulties and sorrows after these masters enter our lives. Remember, we are only being pulled out of the vicious cycles into which we have been caught. With the large backlog, the consequences of our present deeds may have to wait. Once the backlog of past karma is nearing completion, it is more likely that we will get back the results of our present actions faster. So this was, one explanation, and so basically, what I feel is that we need to maintain patience while doing our respective sadhana. And I would also like, I was very pleasantly surprised to see today's thought of the day. And I'll just, since it was relevant for the talk today, so I'll just read out. Those who think of the Lord with devotion can overcome any type of inherited or accumulated karma. With His grace, they can experience even unattainable bliss. Do not doubt the usefulness of spiritual discipline. It can never be fruitless. No, not for anyone. Hold firm to that conviction. Unshaken devotion will win the grace of the Lord. Finally, I would like to end with, that where I started off with this student who had this interview with Swami, where Swami was talking about Meera Bai. In a separate interview, Swami had mentioned that how can Meera Bai, that people say that Meera Bai suffered a lot, but how can she suffer? She, when she was always thinking on me, when she was always immersed in me, how is it possible that she suffered? So with this thought, I would like to end my talk. Thank you for your time, and thank you, Sairam.